Hi, welcome to this episode of The Daily. My name is Brendan Malone. Well, earlier this week I went to see the new Bourne film, Jason Bourne, and I should have known there was a bit of foreshadowing in the poster. I had hope for this film because I actually enjoy the Bourne franchise, but I should have known by looking at the poster that maybe it wasn't going to be as exciting. The movie is simply called Jason Bourne. Nothing too great about that, and the byline for it is, you know his name. Once again, not particularly inspiring stuff. This film, its biggest problem really is that it tried to rework the original formula, which is well and truly dead now, from the original trilogy. That particular story, that particular character arc with Jason Bourne being hunted by the CIA is well and truly done and dusted now. It was finished by the third film. Yet they've gone back in this movie and they have tried to resurrect that exact same formula. And they really do work to formula here. So you've got the CIA hunting Jason Bourne. You've got Jason Bourne looking for some piece of information about his past. You've got a lone wolf assassin who's hunting Jason Bourne. And you have got a female who, it could go either way. Is she really a friend of Jason Bourne, or is she going to betray and sell him out to the CIA? It just ticks a whole lot of boxes, this film. And even to some of the action set pieces, it just felt like they were ticking boxes. And that's really the biggest problem here, because the fact is that story has been well and truly done to death. And this time around, there's no real clear motivation for why Jason Bourne should be doing this all over again. The motivation is very weak, and they don't really set up one of the pivotal sort of factors for him actually going back and, I guess, hunting down information. Involves a relationship with his father, but they don't really build that relationship enough before this sort of cataclysmic event happens that triggers this whole story. And so we don't really care about that relationship. It's not that we don't care, it's just that we don't know enough to really be impacted by that particular relationship. The other thing I think that this film was always going to have to overcome, and it didn't do it, was the fact that the new James Bond films under Daniel Craig really have taken what the original Jason Bourne movies gave us, and then they've really amplified it and made it even better than how the Bourne movies did it. So they have copied what Jason Bourne did and turned James Bond into this ex-military assassin type character who really is a super soldier. And they've done it really, really well. You know, despite some little moments and absences here and there, they have by and large really amplified and created a super version of what Jason Bourne was. So they were always going to be up against that. The problem is they go back in this new Bourne film, and effectively it kind of just looks like an inferior version of James Bond now, which is kind of ironic because really James Bond did borrow the concept from them. But it just doesn't really work anymore. The other thing too is that there are a lot of scenes in this where the tension is not present, but Paul Greengrass tries to use rapid camera movements and rapid subject changes. So, you know, you'll be following one character over here, and then it moves to a new subject, and it's back here, and then it's up here and down here. And that sort of rapid camera movement is designed to put tension into a scene. But the problem is, if there's no real tension there because the story hasn't built that tension first, you can't substitute that out. The other thing too is, I think the reason why there's very little tension in this film is because it follows that same formula of the other movies, and we already know how that formula works out. Jason Bourne wins the day. And so if your brain subconsciously already knows that this is going to be the outcome, and you're watching a movie which is just following that same pattern, it's just not going to be as engaging. I also found that by the end, just like the car chase scene and then the sort of close quarter combat fight, which both of those things sort of felt a little bit like they were just trying to put action into this film almost for the sake of it. It was like you know, Bourne is renowned for these close quarter fights, so we have to have one of those. But it just felt, particularly towards the end of that close quarter fight with the villain, it just felt like it was going on, and it just felt like ticking boxes. And so for me, it's an okay film. And I think that shows. I looked on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got about a 50% approval rating. And I think that's probably a fair assessment. If you are a real die-hard fan of the Bourne franchise and you love the formula, that's what you like seeing Matt Damon and you like seeing him being hunted by the CIA, then you'll probably enjoy this film. But if you're looking for something more, and even if you're a fan of the Bourne franchise like I am, but you are looking for something new here, then I don't think you're going to enjoy this film a lot. The thing too is that I think so much more could have been done here. There was so much interesting story development which clearly happens off camera, which would have been really quite interesting to know more about. So for example, one of the obvious ones was we start the film with Jason Bourne on this prize fighting circuit in Greece. And there's so much wrapped up in those one or two very short and brief scenes, but it would have been extremely interesting. I remember thinking to myself at the time, I wonder how he got here and what's motivating him and what's really going on, but we never really told. It just quickly moves into this formulaic plot. So all in all, I'd probably give this movie maybe a 4 or 5 out of 10. But if you really love the Bourne formula, then maybe you'd give it more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow on The Daily.